very end, you can see a tattoo on your chest. And I've been told that some of your political opponents are telling reporters that that tattoo has a Nazi affiliation. And I would like to know, is that accurate? Are you a secret Nazi?
I am not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism,
right,
and anti-Semitism and racism in general. I would say a lifelong opponent.
Yeah, so let me just point out, if you ask the people who are saying this is a deal breaker and they could never support Graham, if you ask them, okay, so do you think he's a Nazi? Even those people will usually say, no, of course not. And the reason the answer is no is because if you look at all of the old Reddit posts that they dug up, if anything, the criticism is, bro, you've, at least in your whole posting history, you've always been very far left. You called yourself a fucking communist at one point, right?
Think he should be out?
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, look, I'm Jewish, so this is very personal to me. I've dealt with anti-Semitism my entire life, including by colleagues of ours in Congress. And I don't think ignorance is an excuse. Now, like, I am comfortable saying there should be no Nazis in the Democratic Party. The big tent is not that big. And I hope that my colleagues are comfortable saying that about the Republican Party as well.
Hold on, but you think he should leave the race?
Look, I don't know. The honest answer is I'm not in Maine.
Yeah, but I mean,
I wouldn't vote for him.
This is about whether or not this is a disqualifying set of facts. Because again, it's not just, that. It's also, this is what he said about sexual assault. People should take some responsibility for themselves and not get so effed up that they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to. That's just one small example.
No, I think what he said was horrific, and the idea that he even had something that could be remotely related to Nazism on his body for years, and claimed he didn't know what it was is horrific. Now, I also believe that people can grow and believe in second chances, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say to really atone and amend for this. And I'm comfortable saying, like, we should not have Nazis in the Democratic Party, and if he's a Nazi, he should not be running.
We shouldn't have Nazis in any party.
I agree.
And actually, as a matter of fact,
look at all that agreement we have.
Just last week, well, we don't agree, and I agree with part of what you said, Congressman, but we should be able to answer this question emphatically that no, he should get out of the race.
Boy. So we got to follow up on the bombshell story involving the Democratic socialist, aka just socialist, right? Alleged Nazi, Graham Platner, okay, who is running for Senate in Maine, okay? And this story is going viral because it is exposing the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party and leftists, okay? Because these are the same people who run around boohoo-whining and crying about Nazi! Republicans are racist! They're homophobic! Trump is Hitler! Right? These are all things that we hear every single day, right? Every single day, they talk about fighting Nazis, fascism, right? How they're against racism, homophobia, bigotry. They claim they're against all this stuff, right? But the truth of the matter is, nothing really matters to these people outside of power and control. That's what matters. There's no principle when it comes to these individuals, right? And my follow-up story on this is going to prove my point, because Graham Platner is getting exposed even more, right, for some of the things that he said in messages, right, online, okay? Because again, exposing group chats, right? Exposing group chats, that's the thing nowadays, right? Everybody's group chat, private messages being exposed. This guy is the latest, right, to be a victim of that. And turns out this guy has said some pretty wild stuff, right? If you're a leftist, that is, right? Things that leftists would be upset about if it was a right-winger saying these things. Like, for example, yesterday, I talked about how this individual apparently was upset because black people don't tip, right? He basically had an issue with black people not tipping, right? Now it's been exposed that this guy has used anti-gay slurs in Reddit posts, right? So let's read about this, okay? Democratic Maine Senate candidate Graham Platner admitted Wednesday to authorizing a series of anti-gay Reddit posts and called his past comments indefensible. Quote, I have no reason to deny that the posts are mine, Platner said in an interview with The Advocate, the LGBTQ news magazine that first reported on the controversial post Wednesday. Quote, I made a lot of comments over the years and talked a lot of ish on the internet. I have no reason to doubt that at some point I've used language that I would not be using today. The military veteran and oyster farmer continue. It's indefensible, right? So let's read about what this dude said. Quote, betcha not a single downvoter is a real combat vet. Feel free to back it up with facts. Platner reportedly wrote on Reddit in August of 2018, adding an anti-gay slur to address other Reddit users. Quote, this is the gayest, not in the fun, de-sucking way. Pause. Okay, is this dude straight? Right? I got questions. They're not something a straight dude would say. But anyways, this is the gayest thing I've ever seen. This dude is literally everything I hate all rolled into one. Platner wrote in March 2020, according to The Advocate. In June of 2016, he reportedly described a job, someone else's job, as, quote, gay, as he lamented the difficult life on military guard duty. Quote, no, seriously, flog that effort as often as possible. Write gay poetry about how gay your current job is. Congratulations, you've made it through one shift. Now do it all again in 12 hours. Welcome to the world of standing posts where sanity is a sliding scale, he reportedly wrote at the time. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? He said a bunch of stuff, okay? That, you know, in my opinion, and again, we're going to talk about this, okay? In my opinion, man, like, I really don't give a damn, right? To be honest with you. This is not about me, okay? Because I personally don't care. This is about leftists. And the fact that leftists claim to care about this stuff, right? Again, when they see Republicans participate in language and say things that they find to be bigoted or harmful, they're running around boohoo-whining and crying Nazi, right? But when it's one of their own, right, a leftist doing it, somebody that they support, now all of a sudden they're jumping through all types of mental gymnastics in order to try to justify what the person said or to justify supporting the candidate, even though we know if it was a right-winger, they would never support it, right? Like, for example, Crystal Ball, who is getting absolutely destroyed, on X for this post. She says, for me personally, I'll take a candidate with a regrettable tattoo over one who has steadfastly supported a genocide. So she's calling a Nazi tattoo, right, a regrettable tattoo, right? That's the way she's framing it. Now, I want you guys to listen to how Crystal Ball reacted to Elon Musk and the so-called Nazi salute that he did during the Trump inauguration.
My Twitter timeline after he took over is like, and I think you would agree, filled with literal Nazis who he occasionally, not that infrequently, makes a point of agreeing with and, you know, and elevating. What I'm offering is that there is enough evidence of this white South African who is very comfortable and very comfortable, obviously, elevating Nazis on Twitter, very comfortable using a lot of the rhetoric about like birth rates and population decline and invasion, et cetera, et cetera. And that, you know, is a backer of the furthest right, most reactionary parties in Germany itself that, you know, look, the people who think that this was a Nazi salute are pretty much everybody left of center, and actual Nazis also were like, that's our guy.
Okay, go.
I just can't believe that, you know, I'm supposed to believe that the smartest man on the planet, this brilliant genius, doesn't know what he's doing in this situation. Like, come on.
Yep.
Yeah. So you say that, you heard that, right? Again, this is the same person. This is the same person. Elon Musk, Nazi salute, right? Nazi salute, even though it was not a Nazi salute. Well, see, he's a Nazi, right? He's a Nazi. And all of the people that support Trump, they're Nazis, right? A leftist, a far leftist with a Nazi tattoo, a literal Nazi tattoo, okay? Well, you know, hey, it's a regrettable tattoo, right? Well, at least he doesn't support genocide, right? Again, these people, there is no principle. I'm going to give you guys another example. Crystal Ball's wife, Kyle Kuklinski, right? Listen to his coverage of the Republican group chat. And then I want you guys to listen to the coverage of this story involving their beloved socialists. Take a look.
All right, y'all. Bombshell story came out in Politico where there's this young Republican group chat where the contents of it was leaked to Politico. And man, is it fucking ugly, bro. It is as ugly can be. So let's walk through it. Right off the bat, quote, I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers slavery, and rape. Goddamn. The group chats leak. These people are fucking praising Hitler and saying we should rape people, right? And they go, how dare this person leak it? We're going to ruin their lives. Again, only further proving that you guys belong nowhere near polite society. Get the fuck out. You belong nowhere near polite society. Literally nowhere near it. It's absolutely disgusting that there wasn't like a, sort of like a wake-up moment here over this shit. To me, this is the bigger thing. So the redheaded libertarian said, hey, everyone, some frat boys said F-word in a group chat. See, no one cares. I said, pretty sure it's the I love Hitler thing, the put them in the gas chambers thing, and the rape is epic thing that is the bigger issue. And so, we know these people are fascists. We know they're Nazis. And you can't have a scandal like this and then everybody, defends the kids and then also say, but you can't call me a fascist. You can't call me a Nazi. No, you have those beliefs. It really is that simple. I'm not.
A few moments later.
Silkies, those are Marine Corps running shorts.
Pardon me, Silkies. First of all, great song choice. Tell us what's happening there, where you are. There's probably some listeners who are very confused. And the reason that we are showing this video is because at the very end, you can see a tattoo on your chest. And I've been told that some of your political opponents are telling reporters that that tattoo has a Nazi affiliation. And I would like to know, is that accurate? Are you a secret Nazi?
I am not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism,
right,
and anti-Semitism and racism in general. I would say a lifelong opponent.
Yeah, so let me just point out, if you ask the people who are saying this is a deal breaker and they could never support Graham, if you ask them, okay, so do you think he's a Nazi? Even those people will usually say, no, of course not. And the reason the answer is no is because if you look at all of the old Reddit posts that they dug up, if anything, the criticism is, bro, you've, at least in your whole posting history, you've always been very far left. You called yourself a fucking communist at one point, right? And so there isn't a single hint, there's not a whiff of any actual Nazi shit in his comment posting history. When he thought nobody was watching and nobody would see these things, it was always, if anything, super far left. The genocide. He was a Michael Brooks fan and a Majority Report fan. All of his Reddit shit posts are like, I'm a communist type posts. So, and then the other thing is people say, oh, this is giving the right too much ammunition. They will call us fucking communists and Marxists and Nazis and fascists no matter what. If it's Janet Mills, his opponent, they will call her a communist, a Marxist, and a Nazi and a fascist. Say, oh, but there's more evidence that he is. Yes, but then the question is, who can fight better? I'm sorry, I'm not partaking in this thing anymore where we do the fucking circular firing squad and say, we're doing the right's dirty work for them. Even by having this conversation, I feel like I'm doing the right's dirty work for them. You understand what I'm saying? They're not even talking about it. Right now, I just see leftists trying to shit on Graham Platner, and they're doing the right's dirty work for them. And I'm sorry, it doesn't make you holier than thou that you fell for a fucking AIPAC Palantir smear campaign. Because he's not a Nazi. Everybody knows he's not a Nazi. Even the people who are angry about the tattoo admit he's not a Nazi. So, what are we doing here?
Wow. That, my friends, is what you call mental jiu-jitsu, right? Again, Republican group chat, jokes. We're talking about jokes, right? Jokes. Out of context, we don't know the context, right? But jokes. Nazi, Hitler, right? This is terrible. Their lives should be ruined, okay? They should be nowhere near office, okay? Over jokes, right? Jokes in a private group chat. Now, this communist comes along, right? Kyle Kukalinski admits that this dude is a communist, right? He's a flat out communist and they're supporting communists, right? Don't ever let these people tell you that they don't support communism, right? That there's a difference between a so-called democratic socialist and a communist, because quite literally they're telling you, the democratic socialists are telling you, yeah, we like communists, right? This dude is a communist. Communist comes along. He complains about black people not tipping, right? He victims blames when it comes to sexual assault, okay? He had a literal Nazi tattoo, right? And he said other things as well, too, that, again, leftists would disagree with heavily, right? They'd be very, very, very upset about if a right-winger said it. And now all of a sudden, they're jumping through mental hoops in order to justify it, right? To say, he's not really a Nazi, right? He's not really homophobic. He's not really racist. And you don't understand. He's grown from this. He's grown from it. He's learned. He's moved on. We should forgive. We shouldn't be canceling people because of stuff like this. Again, they would never give that same benefit of the doubt to a right-winger. Let me tell you how to be principled on this, right? On an issue like this. Myself, when the Republican group chat came out, I said, honestly, I really don't care, because I don't know the context of the messages. And obviously they're jokes, right? And it's a private group chat. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of private group chats in this country that people who are good people, genuinely good people, are in, and they say wild stuff because that's what people say with their friends in group chats. They say wild stuff, okay? So it's not really that big of a deal. I don't care that much. Same thing with this dude. I don't really care that much about all these things that this dude allegedly said. I really don't care that much about that. But I do care about the fact that he's a militant communist, right? I do care about that. I do think that is disqualifying, right? The fact that he's a communist, okay? Yeah, I think that's disqualifying, okay? I do care about that, but I don't care about the other stuff. Because if a Republican did it, I wouldn't care. So if a leftist does it, I don't care. Because I don't claim to care about stuff like that. That's not my thing, right? So I don't care, okay? However, again, according to leftist standards that they set for everybody else, they do care about this, right? But now, again, when it comes to this communist, one of their own, right, one of their comrades, now all of a sudden, all of that goes out the window. That's the problem, right? Bigger problem for establishment Democrats, and probably one of the reasons why they're struggling so much to actually tell this dude to drop out of the race. Again, even though, again, if this was a Republican, they would be kicking and screaming and crying about this, right? This dude is leading the Democrat primary with 58% of the vote. And the closest competitor, sitting Democrat governor Janet Mills, is at 24%. 24%. This dude is crushing in Maine. A communist is crushing the establishment Democrat in Maine. This is what I was telling you guys about the far left takeover of the Democrat Party. That is what we're witnessing. And this is why they're so afraid. They're so afraid to come out and to actually say that this guy should drop out of the race because they are afraid of the backlash from the militant far left, right? The Democrat Party is cooked, right? They're absolutely cooked. If this dude wins the Democrat primary, they're cooked, okay? And you're going to see a lot more of this. Like I told you guys, you're going to see a lot more of these militant communist types running because this is what the Democrat base wants, right? These are the people who can win Democrat primaries. Now, surprisingly, the Cackling Hands on the View did chime in on this, and they did actually say that this dude should drop out. They actually showed some consistency on this issue, unlike Kyle Kuklinski and Crystal Ball.
P Hustle, that's what he was known as, his handle, posted over 1,800 times between 2009 and 2021. That to me is seriously a red flag when we talk about people being radicalized online. If you've spent that much time on a Reddit site, that's my first concern. Two, although everyone has a past, not everyone can whip up an anti-Semitic or racist tattoo that they accidentally got on spring break when they were drinking. You know, like the level of what you're bringing up is not just a whoopsie. It was a repeated offender. And so this is where I say there are just so many fish in the sea. In fact, there are 1.5 million people in Maine. I'm sure there's someone else that they could get now.
But there are 300.
No, there's not somebody else they can get because, again, this is a communist, right? This is who they want. This is who the communists of the Democrat Party want. They want a communist.
40 million people in this country. They can't find one without a Nazi tattoo.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing.
Again, he's running against Janet Mills, the sitting Democrat governor of Maine, right? The sitting Democrat governor. They got there somebody else. That's just not who the voters want, right? That's what the Cackling Hens don't understand.
I understand that some Democrats.
Thank you.
I understand some Democrats are still supporting him. I think because he's running against Susan Collins and people want her to be gone and done because of some of her voting history. But you can't say, oops, 18 years ago I was in Croatia drunk and I got an anti-Semitic tattoo.
Yeah.
And when you get to the point where you're denying on a podcast that you're a Nazi, I think it's over, you know, and so it's just over.
Well, I appreciate that we've had this conversation when it's folks on the right, and we've said whether you were on that GOP group chat, whether you were this gentleman we didn't end up talking about on the show, but who ended up having his nomination withdrawn, Paul Ingrassia, because he had some neo-Nazi history. Both sides. There has to be a standard of behavior in this country for our elected officials. There was a time when there was almost, you wanted a moral superiority in your leaders. So if you're a Nazi adjacent on the right or the left, you have no business being in public life. Step aside for someone else who could run for that.
That seems obvious.
That seems easy.
That's the easy call.
Well, it's just, I don't know if we will, I don't know that we're living in a time anymore where somebody doesn't have something stupid that they've done, whether it's naked pictures or we used to say to people,
that would be nice
this lives on.
That would be like,
but we used to say to people, these things live forever. And we say to people, listen, know that your stuff is going to come back up. And if you don't get out in front of it, you can't be surprised.
And this guy's 41, which means he grew up in a time where you were of the age group that knows you don't post stuff like that.
And apparently he got this tattoo in 2007 in Croatia while drunk.
Who does that? Marines do that.
Yeah, but this thing, vino veritas. When you're drunk, you tell the truth.
Yeah.
I believe in that a lot. I mean, we trashed Mel Gibson years ago because he also said he was drunk or something.
Well, he was.
Yeah, I do.
But I don't buy it.
But you can't.
When I have a couple of glasses of wine, I don't start spouting Nazi slogans.
There's forgivable bad behavior.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sorry. When I was drinking, strange stuff came out of my mouth.
Nothing like that.
Well, you know what? But nothing like that to us now. But to people then, it would have sounded.
Yeah, but it wasn't racist. It wasn't anti-Semitic.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
Listen, I'm simply saying, I can't tell you that when I used to get drunk, I didn't do stupid stuff. But what I can tell you is that I know I drank and did stupid stuff.
And
I took responsibility for it. And that's what I'm saying. Whether it's
before it's uncovered, by the way.
Uncovered by other people. And don't think I don't think y'all will be looking for stuff.
Wow. I gotta say, there's really not that much that I can disagree with, right? When it comes to what the Cackling Hens just said, right? I mean, hey, they're more consistent on this than Crystal Ball and Kyle Kuklinski, which should tell you everything you need to know about how much of a joke these two individuals have become, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, the principal leftist would say, hey, we got to denounce this guy. He has to drop out of race. This is disqualifying, but they're not because he's a communist. Because he agrees with them, right, on communism. They're like, nah, it's fine, right? Who cares if he has a Nazi tattoo? Okay, who cares if, he victim blames when it comes to sexual assault, or that he complains about black people not tipping, right? Or the anti-gay slurs and all this stuff that he said. Like, who cares, right? According to the left. Again, according to the left, who cares, right? It's fascinating. It really is. Something else I want to point out before I end this video is that this guy was heavily on Reddit, right? The communist. And I just want to point out the similarities between Tyler Robinson, who assassinated Charlie Kirk, right? Or allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk, and this guy. Both of them are militant leftists who spent a lot of time on Reddit. Leftists claim that, well, it was impossible for Tyler Robinson to be a leftist because he made gay jokes, right? And I'm like, well, you got this communist making gay jokes too, or saying, what people are defining as, anti-gay stuff, right? So, again, apparently that's a thing on the left, right? Apparently that's actually a thing. Again, my point is that they spend a lot of time on Reddit. We know that Reddit is a leftist kind of, shit posting site. And, this is the result of a lot of these people spending so much time on Reddit. You see this type of extremism that is present within the Democrat Party, and this is what voters are voting for, right? I think that's the saddest part about it. Again, this guy is a straight-up communist. And the voters of Maine, the Democrat voters of Maine, are saying, yeah, give us that guy over the establishment Democrat governor, right? I think it says a lot about just how terrible the established Democrat Party is, but it also says a lot about how radical and extreme the far left has become. And like I tried to tell you guys, and I've stressed this over and over again, the takeover of the Democrat Party from the radical left is coming, right? It is happening, and it's happening right now. And I don't think there's anything the Democrats can do to stop it. Once Mondami wins New York, it is over, right? It's going to open up the floodgates, and you're going to see a lot of these people are running in Democrat primaries, and they're going to win. Let's hope that Republicans can win in general elections versus these communists. In this case, again, we got Susan Collins, who I believe will be the candidate for Maine, the Republican candidate. Not, again, my preferred candidate, but better than the communist, right? So we'll see. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.